Republic carries on attacking Gulf countries that support the United States and Israel in their fight against a theocratic regime. Our correspondent Oz Katerji is in the heart of Beirut, which continues to come under Israeli fire. Oz, good evening. Now, there's a lot of things that are going on by the minute. Now, please do tell me, what's the latest happening in Lebanon? What can you tell us maybe about the ongoing mass evacuations? Where are we standing with that? What are some numbers that we're looking at?
Well, according to the Lebanese authorities, those numbers are up above 830,000, which is about 15% of Lebanon's population has now been displaced from these forced evacuation notices in the south of Lebanon and parts of South Beirut. We're up to 773 people killed in the conflict here in Lebanon so far, 103 of those children, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry figures for today. Now, the situation, it's not good in South Lebanon. Israel struck a bridge over the Litani River. That's a civilian bridge, with Israel Katz, Israel's defense minister, warning that Israel will continue to conduct such attacks against civilian infrastructure and even Lebanese government institutions should Hezbollah not be immediately disarmed. This is something the Lebanese government has said it wants to do, and it has called for talks with Israel, but those talks have so far been rebuffed by the Israelis.
Oz, and earlier today, one French soldier killed, several others wounded by an attack in Iraq. We have an Iranian missile that's fired at Turkey. Give us a little recap of the events that shaped this 14th day of the war.
Well, precisely, these are countries that are not involved in the US-Israel war against Iran. And there have been attacks in countries such as Oman that is not involved in this war. But Iran has decided that attacking these countries will be part of its war aims to put pressure on the US and Israelis and potentially the global economy with attacks such as the Strait of Hormuz. But this is the third ballistic missile attack on Turkey by Iran, something that's angered the Turks a great deal, but also is causing concern across NATO members that this could be an Article 5 potential situation. There's been no indication from Ankara that Article 5 will be triggered over this, but after 3 ballistic missile attacks, it is a question that diplomats and so on are starting to ask, because this situation, if it continues to escalate, could quickly draw in NATO members through Article 5 should an attack cause one of the governments that may be involved or potentially targeted as part of Iran's aims should potentially trigger that. So this situation is a growing security concern, not just for the region, but also for the other parts of the world, including Europe.
Thank you so much, Oz Katerji, coming to us live from Beirut. Major Russian cities have been without mobile data service for over a week now. While the Kremlin claims it's a strategy aimed at countering Ukrainian threats, experts suggest it might be Moscow's attempt to impose tighter control over its citizens. Piotr Miszczuk reports.
That's become the common sight across Russian cities now that people have switched to mobile calls in response to the government's hold on the mobile internet service.
If you're asking how long these actions will last, it's as long as additional measures are necessary to ensure the safety of our citizens.
The shutdown, which began last Thursday, also left some Russians unable to make phone calls, forcing many of them to buy legacy devices such as pagers or walkie-talkies. The internet went haywire.
I recently arranged to meet up with my friends, but damn, we can't even find each other. No connection, no internet.
The outages have been on the rise since May 2025, usually affecting the centers of the country's largest cities, predominantly Moscow, St. Petersburg and Nizhny Novgorod. And it's been a big headache for Russian businesses.
My business relies on mobile internet, and neither my payment terminals nor my service desk are working. I can't do anything at work.
The Kremlin has rushed to place blame for the situation on Ukrainian drone offensives and cyber attacks.
As the Kyiv regime uses increasingly sophisticated attack methods, more technologically advanced countermeasures are needed to ensure the safety of our citizens.
But it seems that Russia might be trying to tighten its grip on their citizens' online activity, experts suggest.
The authorities are testing a kind of a white list system. So the system under which only some websites, government-approved websites and essential online services would remain accessible to Russians.
With a goal to nip any potential protest in the bud,
We can see that the authorities are really afraid of the people who may demonstrate, who may organize something. There is a kind of fear that people from the largest centers may react, especially in Moscow or very close to Moscow.
for TVP World, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.
Now, the war in the Middle East is sending global oil prices higher as the United States on Friday issued a 30-day waiver allowing countries to buy Russian oil, a move critics say undermines Western sanctions. Efforts by the U.S. and the International Energy Agency to stabilize markets have so far had little effect. And with the Strait of Hormuz still closed, drivers worldwide are feeling a pinch at the pumps. Maciej Wilowski reports.
As gas prices spike and midterm elections approach, the Trump administration on Friday issued a 30-day global sanctions waiver for countries buying Russian oil, provided the ships had left port before Friday.
To increase the global reach of existing supply, the US Treasury is providing a temporary authorization to permit countries to purchase Russian oil currently stranded at sea.
The decision comes a week after the U.S. offered a similar waiver exclusively for India, a major buyer of Russian oil. And like last week's decision, Washington's latest move undermines the Western sanctions regime against Russia.
But what it does, of course, it boosts the Russian economy through exports. It effectively lifts the sanction and legalizes exports.
The move drew strong rebuke from European officials, including German Chancellor Friedrich Merz.
I want to make this very clear. Easing sanctions now, for whatever reason, is something we believe is wrong. We will continue our support for Ukraine. We will not be deterred or distracted from this by the war in Iran.
The world's policymakers are pulling out all the stops to get more oil flowing out into the global market after the near-total closure of the Strait of Hormuz cut off some 20% of the world's oil and gas supply. On Wednesday, member states of the International Energy Agency agreed on the biggest ever release of emergency reserves.
Our countries will be making 400 million barrels of oil available.
But these efforts have done little to stabilize prices, which remain well above pre-Iran war levels.
You can see the tension. We're not talking about prices coming back to 85, where they used to be prior to intervention in Iran.
Surging oil prices have pushed up the cost of fuel worldwide, and Poland is no exception. But prices in Poland seem to be rising more slowly than in some neighboring countries. This has led German drivers to queue at gas stations across the border, leading to shortages at some.
I definitely don't understand why fuel prices in Poland haven't skyrocketed as exorbitantly as they have in Germany.
But regardless of where they live, drivers around the world are feeling the pain of higher prices at the pump. Maciej Wilowski for TVP World.
All right, now Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk was a guest on TVP Channel 1 following the channel's flagship evening news service. The Prime Minister spoke about the recent veto of that bill facilitating the EU's defense loan of almost 44 billion euros by Polish President Karol Nawrocki. Now, in the interview, Donald Tusk said the Polish government has a way to deliver a portion of the European funds to the Polish armed forces, saying it coincides with the cabinet meeting he called earlier on Friday, which culminated in the resolution of the Council of Ministers regarding the Armed Poland program. This empowers the Ministers of Security and Finance to sign a contract that's integrated with the EU defense loan. Now, the Prime Minister said the resolution is a guarantee that the European funds are delivered to Poland's military sector and armed forces, and he also said that the President's concerns that the loan could jeopardize the sovereignty of Poland are nonsense.